Is there ever a time that you've been like particularly impressed by a mentee or a mentee accomplished something that inspired you? Like I just want to hear like a strong mentee success story from your perspective.
Yeah, I would say it's really impressive when you meet with a mentee, they listen, they ask questions, they follow up on a second call, and they show progress in between. And I'll give you an example. One gentleman I spoke with has an apparel company, and on the first call, he's talking about, hey man, I'm so proud of myself. I'm handling all this customer service, and I'm doing supply chain stuff, and I'm doing this. And I said, what's the most effective use of your time? And he said, well, I'm really great at the marketing and the vision, right? Which is most founders, but I'm small. And I said, okay, at what point do you want to hire someone and get help? And he said, well, it's just so expensive. And together we realized that for $4 or $5 an hour, he could get a virtual assistant to start helping with some of the customer service and emails and admin stuff. And on the next call, he had hired that person. And he said, oh my gosh, my business is growing even faster now. Thank you so much for helping me understand, what could be useful for my business. And it's great to see that upward trend. And I've been on calls with him for the last year or so. And I continue to see his business go up and up and up and up and up because he's learning from my mistakes. I'm not telling him what to do. I'm just sharing experiences that I feel are relevant for him. And he can choose whether or not that's beneficial for him.
Cool, amazing. Um, so my second question is, how do you approach just being an effective mentor? Like, how do you approach sessions? Like, what are your goals just on your end?
I prefer to have a little bit of background on whatever their business or business idea is. So I'll reach out to the mentee kind of as a best practice in advance and say, hey, great. So I see you scheduled the call. How do you think I can be beneficial? What's a great outcome here? And can you tell me a little bit about yourself? And so I get a little bit of a prequel to the call, and they'll say, hey, listen, some guys will go deep. They'll say, oh, here's my deck, and here's what we're all about, and here's what I want to accomplish, and here are my objectives for the call. I don't know if we can get all that done in 30 minutes, but we'll try. And some guys will just say, hey, man, here's a link to my website. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk soon. So either way, it's beneficial to get a little bit of color on the business. That way, when I go into the call, I go in with a list of questions because I'm more of like a prescriptive mentor. I want to understand what they want out of this call, what they want out of their business, and what they're really struggling with. And so I normally just go in with questions, and then I let them kind of ask me questions as well, of course. And together we come up with ways that are going to improve their business and improve how much enjoyment they receive from growing their business.
Like pieces of advice you're frequently giving or kinds of questions that you're frequently asked.
There's a lot of questions about raising money, and I've raised a good bit of money myself, which is probably why I get those questions. What people don't tend to realize, or they maybe overlook, is that the businesses that are the most desirable for investors to put money into are those businesses that are one, profitable, and two, are growing. And too many people are stuck in, what was a great fundraising period over the last, 15, 20 years. Their brain is still stuck back there thinking, okay, I can still raise money in this environment. The environment has changed, and it's changed for the next few years. It's going to be extremely challenging for either pre-revenue or companies that are losing profit to go raise money. So what I'm trying to help people figure out is how they can revise their business model such that they're able to either access different forms of capital, whether it be crowdfunding or SBA loans or the creative financing, and reach profitability sooner because it's going to help them, find those investors and get more investor interest if they still want to pursue that. And if they don't, then they'll have a business that's independent of fundraising.
Okay, awesome. Um, so I was also wondering if there was anything like you've learned from mentees just in this process that's particularly useful for you just as an entrepreneur or just in professional life in general.
Yeah, I would say definitely so. Whenever I'm on a call with a mentee, it ends up being some self coaching as well. It's a lot of things that maybe I don't, I know these things, as it relates to my own businesses, but I maybe don't always prioritize and implement them, right? Because it's easy to coach someone and help them understand that, certain things need to be handed off and certain things they need to handle. And, you know, it's easy for me to overlook that myself. So I find it hugely beneficial to be a mentor just selfishly because I'm going through and I'm kind of coaching them and I'm asking questions and I'm coming up with creative solutions, and I'm encouraging them to continue to revise the business model versus, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm only going to sell this one thing and I'm only going to sell to this group of people and that's it. I'm not doing it. Okay, is it working? No. Okay, so let's revise this, right? So it's a reminder to continue to innovate and how you think about the business, what the business plan is, and there's countless reminders that I've had for myself. So I think it's a really healthy practice, and that's why I'm still on the platform. And I've been on, well over a year, maybe 2 years now, and I'm going to stay on because it's great for my mental health, and I enjoy the creativity around helping people try and solve their problems with their business. Because when you get in the weeds of your own business and you don't have a lot of help, and a lot of people that have been through these problems, you just get really zoned in and thinking, okay, this is my one solution. And it helps to get that perspective. And by providing that for other people, I then provide it for myself.
Okay, amazing. Last thing I was just wondering, like, just with your experience, just have you had experience with mentorship, just in your come up, and like, what's like the most useful piece of advice you got from your mentor or mentors?
I'll give you the most useful piece of advice I didn't get about that I wish I would have gotten. And
That
and
sounds
yes,
awesome.
to answer your question, I had a lot of mentors when I started getting into the business world. In my first business, I think I was maybe 23 or something like this out of college, and that was in real estate. And I had great mentors around that educated me on like how to buy property, what to do with it when you have it, how to look at deals. And then with Iconic, with my nutrition business, I was lucky enough to have a lot of early investors as well as mentors that understood the business. They understood consumer products. They helped me see blind spots. What I wish I would have gotten was more kind of like mentorship around the mindset because I didn't really receive all the feedback the right way. What I mean by that is some of it I took defensively, like, hey, you could really use some help for supply chain, or hey, you could, really use a higher level person over this. And I said, come on, me? I'm fine. Like, what do you think? I'm not good at this. I went on the defensive versus receiving that feedback and acknowledging, okay, yeah, they're probably right. This is going to make my life a lot easier if I hire somebody that's got a higher level of skill here. But I was a bit too defensive about some of the suggestions and feedback. And I think it's important for mentees to remember this is all coming from a place of concern and support, and it may not all be the correct, inputs for your business, but it's important to acknowledge, like, hey, I should really consider what thoughts these people have, especially if they've already been where I want to go.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lesson I learned early, and I think it's paying off pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
it took me
yeah,
years to figure that one out.